few weeks ago, I visited one of the strangest auto shows I've ever seen. There were no Ferraris, no Lamborghinis, no luxury SUVs, no six-figure electric vehicles. Instead, there were hundreds of tiny vehicles, mini EVs, micro trucks, three-wheelers, delivery vehicles, cars designed for retirees, cars designed for farmers, cars designed for people who simply needed transportation. Many of them cost between $1,000 and $5,000. Let that sink in for a second. $1,000 to $5,000. Some had air conditioning, some had touchscreens, some had lithium batteries, some even had solar panels mounted on the roof. And standing there, surrounded by vehicles that most Americans have never seen, I realized something uncomfortable. The most shocking thing wasn't the technology, it wasn't the design, it wasn't even the price. It was the fact that these vehicles were built for ordinary people. People who simply needed an affordable way to get around. Because in America, that idea is slowly disappearing. Today, the average new vehicle sells for nearly $50,000. Not a luxury vehicle, not a high-performance sports car. The average vehicle. Pickup trucks routinely sell for $70,000, $80,000, even $90,000. Some push well beyond $100,000. For millions of Americans, buying a vehicle has become one of the largest financial decisions of their lives. And for many families, it feels increasingly impossible. That raises a question. What happened? What happened to the affordable American car? Because America used to build them, lots of them. For decades, affordable transportation helped build the American middle class. A young worker could save money, buy a basic car, and gain something uniquely American. Freedom. Freedom to commute, freedom to move, freedom to build a life. Today, that dream feels further away than it has in decades. And the strange part is this: the auto industry isn't struggling. Many automakers continue reporting billions of dollars in profits, which means affordable cars didn't disappear because nobody could build them. They disappeared because something changed. And to understand what happened, we have to go back to a decision Detroit made years ago. Here's the first uncomfortable truth. American automakers didn't stop building cheap cars because they couldn't. They stopped because they didn't want to. For years, vehicles like the Ford Fiesta, Ford Focus, Chevrolet Cruze, Dodge Dart, Honda Fit, and Toyota Yaris filled American roads. They weren't exciting, nobody hung posters of them on bedroom walls, but they served a purpose. They gave young people a way into the market. They gave working families an affordable option. They gave first-time buyers a starting point. Then something changed. Automakers discovered they could make far more money selling larger vehicles, SUVs, crossovers, pickup trucks. The profit margins were dramatically higher. Why sell a compact car with a small profit margin when a fully loaded SUV could generate several times more profit? From a business perspective, the decision was obvious. And so, one by one, affordable models disappeared. Entire segments vanished. The market slowly shifted upward. Bigger vehicles, higher prices, larger monthly payments. The companies were making more money, investors were happy, but millions of consumers were quietly being left behind. Imagine walking into a grocery store, looking for bread, only to discover that every loaf has been removed. The shelves are now filled entirely with premium steaks. Sure, the store still sells food, but not the food many people actually need. That's essentially what happened in the American car market. Affordable transportation became increasingly difficult to find, and once affordable cars disappeared, something else began to happen. Americans started financing vehicles in ways previous generations never imagined. There was a time when buying a car was relatively simple. You looked at the price, you negotiated, you bought the vehicle. Today, many Americans don't even focus on the price anymore. They focus on the monthly payment. Can I afford $500 a month? $700? $900? $1,000? That shift may sound small, but it changes everything. Because once buyers stop focusing on total cost, prices can climb much higher. Loan terms stretched from 48 months to 60, then 72, then 84. Some loans now approach 7 years. Think about that, 7 years. A child can start first grade and finish middle school before some car loans are fully paid off. And the longer the loan becomes, the easier it is to hide the true cost of the vehicle. higher sticker price suddenly feels manageable, at least on paper, until interest accumulates, until depreciation catches up, until the owner discovers they owe more than the vehicle is worth. Today, millions of Americans are trapped in exactly that situation. They're carrying negative equity. They're rolling old debt into new loans. They're making monthly payments on vehicles that continue losing value every day. What was once a symbol of freedom has increasingly become a long-term financial obligation. And while this was happening in America, another country was taking a completely different approach, not to financing, not to marketing, but to the very idea of what a car should be. And that difference may explain why some vehicles on the other side of the Pacific cost less than a used iPhone. When I walked through that auto show, I noticed something fascinating. Many of those tiny vehicles weren't trying to be impressive. They weren't trying to be status symbols. Nobody bought them to show off. They existed for one reason: to solve a problem. Take groceries home, drive a few miles to work, pick up grandchildren from school, deliver packages, move around a small town, simple jobs, simple vehicles. And that's when a bigger question started forming. What if the future isn't only about building better cars? What if it's about building the right cars? Because while America was chasing bigger vehicles and bigger profits, China was building something entirely different. And the story behind that difference is where things become truly surprising. Here's where the story becomes uncomfortable. For years, American automakers were optimizing for one thing: profit per vehicle. And from a business perspective, that made perfect sense. Why sell a compact car for a small profit when a fully loaded SUV could generate thousands more? Why sell affordable transportation when customers were willing to finance larger and more expensive vehicles? Wall Street loved it, investors loved it, profits grew. But while Detroit was chasing higher margins, China was playing an entirely different game. China wasn't asking, how much profit can we make on each vehicle? They were asking, how many vehicles can we build? That sounds like a small difference. It isn't. It's enormous. Because once scale becomes the goal, everything changes. Factories become larger, supply chains become larger, battery production becomes larger, competition becomes brutal. Hundreds of EV companies entered the market. Many died, many failed, many disappeared completely. But the survivors became incredibly efficient. BYD is perhaps the best example. It started as a battery company. Today it builds millions of vehicles, not because it discovered a magic technology, but because it spent years building scale. And scale is one of the most powerful forces in manufacturing. The bigger you become, the cheaper everything gets. And eventually something extraordinary happens. Your competitors wake up one day and realize you can build products they simply cannot match on price. But scale isn't the real shock. The real shock is what China spent the last 20 years building underneath the factories. Many Americans assume Chinese vehicles are cheaper because labor is cheaper. That's part of the story, but only part. The real answer is much bigger. Imagine trying to build a vehicle. You need batteries, motors, electronics, semiconductors, raw materials, rare earth elements, processors, sensors, thousands of components. Now imagine two different worlds. In one world, every component comes from a different supplier. Different states, different countries, different shipping routes, different costs. In the other world, almost everything is nearby. The battery factory, the electronics factory, the component supplier, the assembly plant, the logistics network, everything connected, everything optimized, everything moving at incredible speed. That's what China spent decades building, an industrial ecosystem. And ecosystems are incredibly difficult to copy because they don't appear overnight. They take years, sometimes decades. Here's the uncomfortable reality. An American worker earns more than a Chinese factory worker, and most Americans would never want that to change. But it also means America cannot simply wake up tomorrow and build a $5,000 car. The economics don't work, the labor costs don't work, the supply chains don't work, the The system wasn't built for that. And that's where things become interesting. Because if America can't compete on price, then it must compete somewhere else. For decades, that answer was quality, engineering, brand trust, innovation. But now, another battle is emerging, and it looks a lot like the smartphone industry, because many Chinese companies don't think they're building cars anymore. They think they're building the next smartphone. They see a smartphone with wheels. Think about the last time you bought a phone. You probably cared about the screen, the software, the user experience, the updates, the ecosystem. Now think about the average car buyer under 35. Increasingly, they think exactly the same way. For most of automotive history, cars were mechanical products. Engines, transmissions, steel, horsepower. Today, software is becoming just as important, maybe even more important. Many Chinese EV companies were born in the smartphone era. The founders grew up around software companies, consumer electronics, apps, AI, cloud computing, so naturally, they approach vehicles differently. A car isn't simply transportation. It's a digital device, a platform, a screen, an ecosystem. And that mindset is spreading quickly. Young buyers compare their vehicles to their phones, not their parents' cars. And that's creating a problem for traditional automakers. Because suddenly the competition isn't only Ford, or GM, or Toyota. The competition is every technology product consumers interact with every day. Micro Huke. But technology isn't what scares Detroit most. Speed does. IT fears Chinese speed history teaches a fascinating lesson. The biggest companies rarely die because they become stupid. They die because they become slow. Kodak saw digital cameras, Nokia saw smartphones, Blockbuster saw streaming. The threat wasn't invisible. The threat arrived faster than expected. And that's what worries many people in the auto industry today. Not Chinese cars, Chinese speed. Traditional automakers often need 5 years to develop a new vehicle, sometimes longer. Many Chinese EV companies move dramatically faster. New models appear constantly. Software updates arrive constantly. Features evolve constantly. Imagine a heavyweight boxer fighting a younger opponent. The veteran is stronger, more experienced, more respected. But the younger fighter moves faster. Eventually, speed starts creating opportunities. And opportunities become market share. And market share becomes power. Which brings us to the biggest question of all. This isn't really a story about China, it's a story about America, because the most important question isn't, can Chinese companies build good cars? They already can. The real question is, why can't millions of Americans buy a simple, affordable car anymore? Because that is the gap being left behind. That is the opportunity sitting in plain sight. And history has a funny habit of punishing industries that ignore opportunities. 20 years ago, almost nobody believed Nokia could lose. Today, many young people have never even held a Nokia phone. Detroit is not Nokia, at least not yet. But history offers a warning. The companies that dominate one era are rarely guaranteed to dominate the next, especially when the rules of the game begin to change. And right now, the rules are changing faster than most people realize.